Trust. And also, if you're someone of influence, you want to make sure that you take your name and you want to move. Okay. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing today? A quick sermon for the morning as you wake up, a midweek sermon. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? How are you all doing? May you have a very fruitful and blessed day. Hope you guys are doing well. Hello, everyone. Beauty by Glory. How are you doing? Ifi Wankwo, how are you doing? So, today I like to talk about a dependency faith. A dependency faith. Let us start with a quick prayer and then get to it. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the fact that we can gather today in your name. I ask for your healing and your mercy, your direction and your love. I ask you, Father, to lead us to your path of light and wisdom. In Yahushua's name I pray. Amen. Amen. So, let us talk about dependency faith. I was listening to one of my many scholars who know the Bible in and out, have PhDs or master's degrees from Oxford or other well-known universities, have taken time out to study the Bible and the LXX, that's the Septuagint, as well as the Latin Bible and the Greek New Testament, and have done thesis upon thesis on these works and debunk almost all the works of the Bible. Many of them have come out to debunk almost all the work of the Bible. And I'm wondering, I'm like, so why are you still a Christian if you don't believe a lot of the stuff in the Bible? Or you believe that a lot of the stuff in the Bible cannot be proven? And Vic gave me the answer one of the days I was having a conversation with him. And he said, do I really need to believe that an elephant, two elephants and two lions and two zebras and two kangaroos were on an ark before I understand the message of Christianity? And I thought about it long and hard. You and I know Adam and Eve were not the first people on earth. There's no way to swing it. The best scholar I have met gave the chronology of the Bible to between 8,000 and 15,000 years. I have not met a single biblical or scriptural scholar who has been able to show that the Bible, the Genesis to now, is older than 15,000 years. I've not met. There's what you call a scholarly consensus. Most scholars agree that it's between 8 and 10%. That 8 and 10,000 years. That 15,000 years is actually a stretch. Or that a whale swallowed a man when a whale cannot swallow anything bigger than maybe this bottle or something slightly bigger. And I asked, do I need to believe these things before I understand the message of Christianity? And I thought about it long and hard. The best way to explain things that period was using myths. Even our traditional folklore, they all explained with myths. Obatala flew from heaven. Oshun became a river. That was how all religions transmitted their belief systems, embellished in folklore, mythology. And that was how the stories were embellished. Maybe the fish they had, maybe the type of fish they had during the time of Jonah, is another possibility, is different from the type of fish we have now. Maybe they had some fish that we've not discovered yet that could actually swallow a man and keep him in his tummy. That could be another plausible answer, because the beauty of science is it keeps evolving, and we've not found everything yet. Maybe that's another explanation. But you see, the core of it is a lot of stuff that we have as our belief system as Christians has been debunked by reality. Adam and Eve were not the first people on earth. If Adam and Eve lived 15,000 years ago, and then you go to Africa, there's the Tukur boy in Kenya who lived 1.4 million years ago. His skeletons at the Kenya airport. So it gets to a point where we realize that we have lost the essence of Christianity. What we are doing today is we are embellishing myths. And it has created a dependent, Turkana boy, God bless you. It has dependent on, it has become dependent, our faith has become dependent on these beliefs and these quote and unquote miracles. I'll tell you for free, 99% of what you think are miracles in Christianity are either hoaxes, fakes, absolute fakes, or the mind of the person does not understand what he's doing. There's 1% that is genuine, and that 1% is shared up among Muslims, Buddhists, atheists. Atheists, when they get their miracle, they don't come and climb pulpit and say, "Oh Lord, rebeti rabata skiribis karaba, what God cannot do does not exist." They tell their immediate friends and families and they move on. Christians advertise miracles. Why? Because they sell miracles. Miracles are a selling point of Christianity. You go to church because you are dependent on what God's going to give you. And I'm going to get to that here. People don't understand. I have people who would tell me about a miracle and I would never believe them, simply because they don't know where their liver is in their body. They don't know what's, if I ask you what side of your body is your liver, what side of your body is your spleen, what side of your body is your heart, someone that does not know these things will tell you that somebody has died and resurrected. I was watching a testimony on one of the biggest churches in Nigeria, and the woman said her child died and they brought the child to church and the child was resurrected. And I'm like, okay, I like to hear this. And she said the child fainted. And she carried the child and ran, and there was a bus outside and they quickly stopped the bus. Please, please, please help us to the hospital. Help us to the church. We want to take the child to the church so that Papa can pray. They now got onto the bus, and the bus conductor looked at the child and said, Mama, this pikin don't buy. A bus conductor looks at a child and issues a death warrant. Oh my goodness. He issues a death certificate. A bus conductor. Oh, really? Do you know how many doctors have said people have died only for them to realize that the person still never died? Do you know how many people resurrected during their funerals? Indians, Americans, Christians, Muslims. Do you know how many people actually, they were about to bury them and the person woke up? Do you know how many graves have been dug to relocate the corpse only for them to see scratches all over the what is it called? The coffin, meaning the poor person was buried alive. And doctor certified. So then all of a sudden we have a bus conductor. You can Google it online. A bus conductor now confirms say person don't buy. She na impulse in count, or in listen to in heartbeat, or in look at in pupil say dilate. A bus conductor. And then they take him to the church and pray and pray and pray and pray. And the child comes, they switch the child back on. And all of a sudden, it's a miracle. Do you know why I have that problem with that miracle? Because the woman on the stage said, take the child to the hospital. I said, no, let's go to my papa. From the stupidity of that miracle, at least 100 people have died. I can tell you for free. Guess what? Because you go to that church and your own son has an asthma attack or a stroke, and the people around say, hey, remember what happened to that person's child? Let us run to Papa. Papa will resurrect. And they go and they buy. And you never hear the testimony of the multitudes where they buy. You only hear the testimony of a dingbat and a thief. I should actually have named this sermon The Dingbat and the Thief. A dingbat is a fool. And the Bible, or I don't know if it's the Bible now, or is what people saying, they said, a fool and his money are soon parted. A fool and his money are soon parted. So all they need to do is keep you dumb, and you will part with your money. The dingbat and the thief. So we don't see the danger. Abroad, little children are taught how to run to the phone and dial 911. Abroad, little children are taught how to give CPR. Abroad, people are taught how to administer first aid. Nigeria, you are taught how to run to God. What mouth-to-mouth resuscitation can do, you have created a dependency on God for a solution that is at your fingertips. I'll take it a little further. Dependent on God. We have 2 kids. I have a friend who, when he was 13, and he was just telling me the story. My neighbor, actually, one of my neighbors was telling me the story. He said his father thought that he was too spoiled, so he sent him off to military school. The mother cried, no. They sent the boy off to military school. Military school. You think house girl is washing your clothes? Not only will you wash your clothes, you have 2 seniors whose clothes you wash and iron. So you must wash you will be dirty in military school. Ask anybody that went to military school. You will be dirty. You will not be disciplined. It's impossible. So this young man who was sent to military school, who also did very well academically, by the time he was 16, 17, he came out of military school and went abroad, lived abroad. His parents paid his school fees. They didn't send him any school money. They didn't send him any housing money. They said, Baba, you didn't have. Baba, we've managed and paid your school fees. One day, hustle the rest. This young man hustled the rest. By the time he was 23, he was done with school. I have another story. There was a guy who called me one day and said, Daddy Freeze, how much do you charge? I said I charge $100 for 30 minutes. He paid immediately for 1 hour, $200, and told me his story. He was going through some relationship issues. And I asked his age. This boy was 22. A 22-year-old boy in America. He went abroad on a basketball scholarship or a football scholarship, one of those scholarships. He's been living on his own. His parents are not particularly rich. He sends them at 22. Meanwhile, you have 30-year-old children living with their parents who, before they can eat, mommy, there's no food. Mommy, there's no okra. Daddy, the light is about to finish. Daddy, there's no petrol in the generator. But then you have a 22-year-old child who's already sending money to his father to buy a new generator. who is sending money to his mother for her health bills. One is dependent, the other is independent. If we take God to be our heavenly Father, why are we dependent on our heavenly Father for things we should at a certain age or stage be able to do for ourselves? I'll give you an example. Many of you rely on God for wealth creation. You wake up every morning and you pray, and then you sow a seed to back up that prayer. One of the dumbest things I'll tell you. I'll not tell you there's anything wrong about praying to God, especially when you pray for revelation and direction. God can give you both, and then you understand where you're going. But you see, thinking that by paying tithe, you will be rich is one of the most dumb things a human being can conjure with his brain. Drive around Lagos, you see tithers walking. Just drive around and interview them yourself. See people at the bus stop. Stop, just go there and see 30 people at the bus stop and just offer to give them 500. And I just want to ask them one question. Do you people pay tithe? You see how many of them pay tithe and they are struggling for bus. So wealth creation, I say this all the time, has nothing to do with God. God gives us all the sun and the rain. Your prayer should be, God, this rain that is falling, teach me how to use it. Everybody crossed the stream on the way to the fight with Goliath, but only David knew the stones and their use. That is why he picked the specific pebbles that he could use to bring down the giant. Everybody saw the stones. Everybody passed the river. But only one person could use the stones. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and the person was like, the way the Nigerian government is, a graduate will go to school, finish school, and then go and earn 50,000 naira in a ministry. And I'm like, you go to school, you finish school, and the first thing in your mind is to go to a ministry to work. I said, wow, how avant-garde that is. How amazing that is. As in, your destiny is that you go and you finish university 5 years, and where your heart takes you is a ministry. Wow. You walk past you walk past your deliverance every day. But because you don't know, you've never prayed to God to show you. You pray to God to give you. An independent child asks for a revelation and a direction. A dependent child asks for manna from heaven. The problem with manna is that it is not sustainable. Even the Bible says, the one you eat today, when you wake up tomorrow morning, if you save any of it, it will turn to maggot infested. You must eat it within 1 day. If you take too much, and if you take too little, when you get inside your house, you see that you took the same thing. Manna is a sustenance from God. Revelation is an abundance from God. Nobody ate manna and from the manna became millionaires. Solomon had a revelation of wisdom and became the richest man the world has ever seen till today. Because how do they measure? They measure Solomon's wealth in gold. And when they measure Elon Musk's wealth in gold, Elon Musk is like tithe of Solomon. And how did he get it? He never asked God for money. And God himself said, the fact that you have asked for wisdom, I will give you money as a consequence. Have you heard of bitumen? Bitumen is what they use to tar the roads. Bitumen is a byproduct of fractional distillation. So Dangote is going to set up a plant. He is going to distill crude oil, And as a byproduct, he's going to get bitumen. Dangote is not going to build a refinery to get bitumen. Bitumen is a byproduct of the fractional distillation process. When he set up the refinery, he set it up because one, he wants PMS, two, diesel, three, kerosene, aviation fuel. Those are what he set up the plant for. Some of you live in Nigeria, you have never seen bitumen before in your life. You don't know, you don't even know where they sell it, because what do you want to do with it? You don't know what to do with it. But guess what? It is a byproduct of distillation. But everybody who likes bitumen, they're going to get it anyway. They're also going to get petroleum jelly anyway. But nobody sets up a $17 billion refinery because they want to produce Vaseline. No. They set it up because they want to get PMS or AGO. That's why they set it up. So asking God for money is a dependency faith. You're setting up a whole refinery because of bitumen. It's a waste of spiritual resource. And that is why I call it the Jacob and the Pharaoh analogy. Jacob was the man who was blessed. Oh, Jacob was so blessed. He wrestled with God and prevailed. He was Isaac's son. Remember, he stole Esau's blessing. Emphasis on the word stole. He also inherited Abraham's blessing because Abraham was his grandfather, and all the blessings to his children. Isaac, through his father, I beg your pardon, Isaac, through him, through all. It is through him that the 12 tribes of Israel came into being. And he was dependent on God. And God fed him. God made sure he had food. But God fed him through a pagan who was independent. An independent pagan will always feed a dependent Christian. Write this down. Remember to keep your comments. Someone said, after Jacob wrestled with angel, he didn't wrestle with an angel, he wrestled with God according to scripture. Can we read it in the original language it was written? Please, let's read it. Can somebody go with me to the book of Genesis chapter 32? And Genesis 32 and verse 28. Your name will no longer be Jacob, the man told him, for from now on you will be called Israel, because you have fought with God and with men, and you have won. If you read it in the original Hebrew Bible, it says, Sarita im Elohim. You struggled with God and prevailed. All Bible translations, NLT, NIV, King James, they all agree on that. King James, no Bible verse, no Bible translation I've seen that says angel. They all say God clearly because the word is Elohim. Okay, Aramaic Bible in plain English is the only one. Your name will not be called Yaakov again, but Israel, because you've proven with angel and with man. Aramaic translation is the only one that uses angel. Every other translation uses God. All translations. because the Hebrew Bible in that verse uses the word Elohim. So let me continue. Now, a dependent Christian, I'll show you what dependency means in Christianity. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 32. To teach you 32, I'll probably start from verse 30 or verse 29. No, verse 28. And don't worry about clothing. Look at the lilies of the field, how they grow. They don't work or make their clothing. Yet Solomon in all his glory was not dressed as beautiful as they are. Verse 30. And if God cares so wonderfully for wildflowers that are here today and thrown into the fire tomorrow, he will certainly care for you. Why do you have so little faith? So don't worry about these things. It says, what will we eat? What will we drink? What will we wear? These things dominate the thoughts of unbelievers, but your heavenly Father has already known all your needs. Seek the kingdom of God above all else and live righteously, and he will give you everything you need. So God has promised that he will give you everything you need from the words of Christ himself. The only problem is, and I don't see this as a problem, because Christ wanted you to dedicate more time to preaching the message, to living righteously. But you see, the problem with this is it created a dependency on God, which Christ didn't intend. So instead of people depending on God for salvation, they started depending on God for feeding. And we have Nigerians today who go to church in a building that was formerly a factory to pray for work. You go to attend church in a building that was formerly a factory to pray for a job. So let's go back to Jacob. Jacob wrestled with God and won. He was a blessed man. Every single thing he did reeked of blessings. But guess what? Jacob could not manage his whole family. He could not mediate between the brothers and Joseph because he openly had a preferred son. Because he openly had a preferred wife. And because he was his mother's preferred son, his mother overheard that they want to bless her first son. She went to do yahoo with the second son. You don't know that. You see, all these things create problems. So Jacob was used to preferential treatment. And he carried it over into his family. He had 2 wives. He loved one more. Well, you can say as a virtue of the circumstance, because he really wanted Rachel, he didn't want Leah. They gave him Leah first, and then he had Rachel. So he didn't really like Leah, he liked Rachel. But as him don't marry the two, there's a level of wisdom that he was supposed to have in order to manage his household, and he lacked it. So there was an obvious preference for Rachel. And Rachel had only 2 sons. And there was an obvious preference for Joseph. Yes, the son of my wife that I love. I'll tell you something here. In everything I do, I try never to have a preferred child. Sometimes, if you look at my mother's children, sometimes they feel that I'm my mom's favorite. But I'm not the one my mom spends the most money on. Maybe my mom loves me the most, but one of my sisters that had to do full school abroad got my mom's most money. My mom is there for each of her children. Then there's one that is closest to my mom, so you think my mom prefers her the most because they think alike. I learned that from my mom doesn't have favorites. There's no child that will call my mom and my mom will do for that child what she does not do for another child. My mother is not like that. And guess what? I brought it into my family. none of my children is preferred. As long as you live under my roof, you get exactly the same love. If me and you are quarreling, I'm quarreling with you because you are annoying me. Does not mean I don't love you. Baby Freeze that is supposed to be the baby, sometimes he's stuck with me at home and I'm going to a restaurant and he's alone with me. I take him with me, but whoever is available follows me. So favoritism breeds contempt. But you all don't understand that in that Bible story, there was a problem created. Jacob was the preferred one. Because of that preference, he could not manage his household. He had 2 wives, he loved one more. He had 12 sons, he loved one more. He did coat of many colors, only for one son. What do you think he was creating? Envy, jealousy. The jealousy in the hearts of his brothers did not come from Satan. It came from the way their father treated them. And the way their father... You don't know that when a man has 2 wives and he doesn't love one, the children will have contempt against him. Because when he says that, oh, imagine I have 2 wives now. And because I love taste buds and she's so pretty and she's so cute and she's so nice and she cooks for me, I buy her the latest G-Wagon. And then my second wife or my first wife, I buy her Uber Corolla. The children will enter the Uber Corolla any day they are going out with their mother. But they will have it at the bottom of their heart that something is wrong. So Jacob could not manage his family. In many instances, even when Joseph had the dream, and he came to tell him, I dreamt that the sun, the moon, and 12 stars or 11 stars bow down before me. And Joseph said, are you telling me and your father? He did not understand the revelation, or he could not handle the revelation. Now, the Bible also tells us about Jacob being a man of the home. He wasn't like his brother Esau, who was a man of the field. So Jacob liked being at home. He didn't build storehouses like the Egyptians had. He didn't have the wherewithal Pharaoh had. If God had given the revelation of the famine for Jacob, only Jacob would have survived and his 12 children. But God gave it to Pharaoh. The moment Pharaoh heard the revelation, he had Joseph there, handed over everything to Joseph. Take control. At the end of the day, Joseph was still the one who rescued his father. Jacob never lacked food. He still had to go and be fed by Pharaoh. So when you are a dependent Christian, what happens is, yes, God will feed you. God will promise you the manna. But manna, there's no Ferrari inside the contract of manna. There is no Mercedes-Benz. There's no house in Banana Island. That one no follow for manna. Manna be say you get roof. Manna be say you get food. Manna be say your children if you go school. If you no be Harvard, but they go school. That's manna. Sustenance. But you see, you live in a country that has neglected production for so long. Everybody has relied on the government. I don't blame them. We are trendy people. Nigerians love jumping on trends. When Linda Ikeji started blogging and started making a fortune from blogging, there was a blogger on every street. Everybody, wait till I be blogger. You don't finish school? No, I drop out. I won't be blogger. I remember when Agbani the Red Goat won most beautiful girl in Nigeria. Baba, there was a pageant on every street corner. I remember there was Miss Falomo Bridge, Miss Obalinde Roundabout, there was Miss Mushin Flyover, Dolphin Estate had like 6 different pageants. It's the copycat in us. All of us sleep and face the same direction. And that's why we are poor today. Not because of the government. Because if the government had its money and we didn't care about the government money because we're too busy digging for our own, they will be eating their money. Oh, yes, we will have lacked some certain resources, but as a people, we will not be poor. We are poor because we all rely on the government for food. You watch National Geographic Society. You see people like Bear Grylls who enters inside the jungle and wrestles with bears and is a millionaire in dollars. Brand ambassador for all the watch brands that are tactical and military grade. He goes into the wild and takes pictures and videos. And there are people who have studied America and they'll tell you about the wolves, the bears, the mountain lions. Nobody knows anything about Nigeria. How many people have actually sat down to actually take count of the natural resources that we have? Do you know how much in dollars you can get as grants to study the Nigerian ecosystem? Do you know how many millions? Just take one animal, frogs. Just do a PhD on Nigerian frogs in the western part of Nigeria. You will be a billionaire, and I'm giving you a free hack. And your children will go to school in Harvard because you can afford it. How many people have actually sat down? Agama lizard that you have everywhere. How many people have actually sat down to do a study on Agama lizard? A proper study. You go to the university and study biology or zoology, and then you come out and you decide that you want to dedicate 6 years of your life to follow Agama lizard, to see how they breed, to see how they multiply, to see how they affect the ecosystem, and then you write a thesis on it. You think they will not invite you to Harvard to come and talk? The problem is you study zoology and you leave the university and you go and work in a ministry. And they pay you 50K a month, and you say they are paying senators 2 million, they are paying me 50,000. Government is a thief. I try very hard to pity you, but I find it hard to. I find it a Herculean task to pity people who walk past their deliverance every day, waiting for the government to come and feed them because they believe the government is rich. If you can navigate the stormy waters, I have a friend who sells all my cars. One day I'll bring her to tell her story. How did she start selling cars? She wanted to go and do medicine. She had a Toyota Corolla. The Toyota Corolla was stolen, and she got the Corolla back. She couldn't sell it in the US because it has lost all its value. So she sent it home, sold it, and made a profit. She was like, oh wow. Oh wow. Today, the kind cars where she they sell, she fit move 12 G-Wagons in 1 month. Brand new G-Wagons. Boom, boom. GLE 53, 6, 1. What she did was, while trying to get into the system, she discovered a subsystem, capitalized on the subsystem, and became a millionaire. I have another friend in Nigeria too who sells cars. If you want to buy your cars, let me just tell you her name, Renee All-Star. Renee 5-star, sorry. Renee will buy you a car. You will be struggling to find scratch on the car. As if Renee buy you moto, you will actually take your time to be looking for scratch. It will be a job. Then you finally find one tiny scratch that is like a strand of hair like this. After 2 days of diligent searching. I have another friend. How did he get into car sales? He came to Nigeria. He went to school in the UK, came to Nigeria, and his father told him, if you take my car out, you must be back by 10 o'clock. This guy can't look and say, now 10 o'clock, go nightlife, they start. That time Nigeria was safe. It's not what it is now. He said, no problem. He kept coming back home, returning his father's car at 10 o'clock. Then he went back to school. He now go hustle. Come buy car. So that he go, the reason why he bought the car was not to come and sell. So that when his father says, you bring my car back by 10 o'clock, at least I'm not driving your car, so I can come back at any time I want. That's how he brought in a car, used for the holiday, sold, made a profit, and went back to the UK. So that's how he started coming and going, coming and going. Baba, today, there was a day, Baby Freeze and I, he called us. He said, man, I have 3 new Lamborghini Uruses. We went there. There was a white one, a black one, or 2 black ones and 1 white, if I remember clearly. And Taste Buds was there. You were there with us now the day they were offloading those Uruses. Baby Freeze was in the container. We all went. We took videos. He brought down the 3 Uruses. 1 month later, cars of 350 million for one. They have sold the 3 of them. That's how his business had. Of course, he'll tell you the story of when he went through. None of them had a smooth sail. But eventually, the businesses grew. Last time he was at my house, he came to see me. Came in his own G-Wagon. And we're gisting. And he said he had to go. Why? Because they are bringing a Urus, a Lamborghini Urus, to discharge in his shop. So he was calling that, oh, the container is going to the shop. Let me go and meet them there. Come and see it now. I said, no problem. So that day I was busy. So I just drove around, had to do my own thing. Then the next day I called him early in the morning, like 10 o'clock. I said, Baba, I did drive, come your office, so I won't come see the Urus. You day office. He said, Baba, don't even worry. He said they don't sell the Urus. Between yesterday, that they were discharging it, and this morning, less than 24 hours, buyer don't. She go tell the buyer, say, no carry the car, that the Freeze won't come look am. Car of 300 and something million naira. You go say, no carry the car, that the Freeze won't come. Now, so I no take see that Urus till today. I missed it by 24 hours, less than 24 hours, because I felt, who go buy, who motorway land now, who go come pay 350 million naira now? What I'm telling you happened a month ago. Baby, when did this happen? When this guy, I almost mentioned his name, came to the house. It's about a month ago, or 6 weeks ago, max. I don't know if I'm connecting with you. So all this happened in 24 hours. Somebody can come up. So the problem is, I'm sitting down. I was at Polo yesterday. A friend of mine says, Daddy Freeze, I want to buy a Santos like yours, but I don't want to buy I want to buy the one that has diamonds, and I don't want aftermarket diamonds. So I've been searching for my friend. I've been searching and searching and searching and searching. And I found out that the only Santos that have the diamonds are the mid-size. This is the large size. There's the extra large size, the chronograph. This is the large size, and then there's the mid-size. So I went to Polo. I said, okay, let me even have a conversation with them and see if they have any large size with diamonds. And let me now try the mid-size with diamonds on. I tried it. It looked like a woman's watch. It looked too small. Maybe because I'm used to wearing bigger watches. Maybe if it was 30 years ago, it would have been perfectly fine. But it just looked a little small. So I called my guy. I said, Baba, if you wear this watch, it'd be like woman watch. While I was in Polo, I was looking at it. They have news. They even have Audemars Piguet. There was one Audemars Piguet I saw for 70K. Say I don't get 70K. Now me say you don't see the watch from my hand this morning. That's the only evidence that I don't have 70K. I will wear the watch, talk to them, move around the shop, drop the watch, go and wear the watch, as in the watch just mark my hand. AP. Beautiful. Now, Simply Vic has a 38mm Oris. But because of the way the strap is made and the bulkiness, it still looks manly. But the 36mm Santos looks feminine. I wore it on my wrist. I said, nah, this watch looks feminine. But what am I trying to say is, I went in there, I was asking for the stainless steel Piaget Polo, all sold. Rolex, do you have any Submariner? All gone. No professional watches from Rolex, you have to be on a queue. Hey, no Daytona, no GMT Master, no Submariner. They had President, the Rose Gold. I've been on the Daytona queue for 1 year. I asked them, I said, it never reach make I collect my watch. They say no be this year. Another 1 year. Am I even sure we get it next year? In a country where people cannot eat, somebody is walking into a shop and buying a Euros. Of 350 million naira. In a country where people cannot eat, they are buying out Rolex, they are buying Audemars Piguet, they are buying Piaget, they are buying Cartier. Simply Vic is here. He sent me an email he got from Goldsmiths. They did not even agree to put him on a queue. Simply Vic was literally begging. So they can't beg me for Nigeria. Say, Baba, I fear I get on a queue. So me and one guy, now we did that queue. I don't tell the guy, call the guy yesterday, say, Baba, if that watch come and you know ready, I will give you a slot to Simply Vic. The guy say, okay. Say, he ain't go ready, but if Simply Vic wants the watch more, I say, me, nothing concern me. When the watches come like this, now who put money down first? And I go, do you know why I disturb them? Because the rarest pieces are the ones that hit ground first. So while you are forming, and let me tell you what I witnessed in Richard Mille one day. I think it was Dubai, yeah. Richard Mille will not put you on a queue. They will not collect your money. They will just open a WhatsApp. They'll just send you a WhatsApp the moment the watch comes in. So you indicate an interest in a watch, and they'll tell you, okay, anytime we get it, we'll send you a WhatsApp. I was in the shop that day. They sent out the WhatsApp. I was just them looking at the watches, and they sent out the WhatsApp that the watch they were waiting for has come. Baba, 2 sheikhs came in together. As in, they literally ran through the door together. They had to watch CCTV footage to see whose leg entered the shop first. That's the person they gave the watch. Watch of $250,000. They had to actually say, okay, you know what? The only way we can judge this and be fair is watch the CCTV camera. And whoever's leg entered inside the shop first, they now froze the frame. And they saw one of them's leg entering the shop first. They say, who get this leg? Which shoe? Okay, now you. The other guy was heartbroken. So when you sit down and you join the complainers, the dependent on God, you realize that God is the same God who gave the pagan Pharaoh a vision on how to feed Israel. You look at yourself and you see Nigeria the way it is. Instead of you thinking outside the box, how can you think outside the box? Jacob understood partiality because his mother was partial. His mother was partial. His mother preferred the younger son to the older son and gave the blessings of the younger son to the older son. He understood partiality. And he transferred his understanding of partiality to his children. That's why he had a favorite son. Also to his wives. That's why he had a favorite wife. You are the way you are. You think the way you think because of the people around you, the people who raised you. Instead of you sitting at Nigeria, as bad as it is, as hungry as it is, as stressful as it is, and thinking of it to be a gold mine of opportunities, you are sitting down, waiting for the government to feed you, just the way they promised they will feed your father, and they didn't. And you haven't learned. You feel you see, we're going back to how stupid church doctrines is. My case is different. You can make your case different, not by praying and declaring that your case is different, but by making your case different. Linda Ikeji earns in dollars. Do you think she's crying that the dollar is rising? As in, let's have this conversation. Do you think she's crying? Do you actually think Linda is joining the people? Her salary comes in that currency. The man that is exporting coal that I was telling you his story, do you think he's crying that the dollar is going up? The higher the dollar goes, the more he's able to get value for his coal. He is not joining you in tears. The young man who is a scrum master in Ijebu Ode or in Osho State, earning $2,000 from America. Last month, his salary was 1.5 million. This month, his salary is 2 million. Is he complaining? He's not complaining because he is not dependent. He has created an ecosystem of independence. Can we talk about an echo? I need you to write these things I'm giving you down. An ecosystem of independence. Sheyi Daniel says, I earn in dollars. I keep short when people complain. Anybody earning in dollars now will find it difficult to relate to the people who are earning in naira, their complaints. You will. Someone says Yahoo boys are not crying too. Those ones are illegal. I will not give them any credit. Whether they cry or they laugh is their father's business. My problem is, this is how God also works. God is not going to come down and feed you. God is not going to come down and tell you that there is money placed under your pillow. That is legendary embellishment. The widow fed Elijah and her food did not run out. Legendary embellishment. The reality you should pray to God is, as I walk out of my house, give me ideas and give me the perseverance to make those ideas become a reality. I'll tell you a story. When I started the Free Nation in Christ, this was the phone I used to start. This voice is here. You can bear me witness. This was the phone I used to start. The phone will begin to swell. And the phone will start to grow. And I'll be preaching like this. Oh, yes. And then I'll change the hand because this hand on the hot. The phone on the burn my hand. Oh, yeah. How are you? And I'll move my hand here. Hey, the phone don't swell. The phone don't get belay. Simply, Chupo knew that time. Oh, yes. And this is going to happen. And by the time I'm done preaching, you will see blisters on my hand. Today, when I started preaching, I could eat. I could eat. I could drink. People were donating money to support me. But then I realized that, look, I don't want to join other pastors and do exactly what they did. So I said, okay, how do I create an industry for myself? I started doing interviews. I started doing conversations that are outside church. I started doing my blog. I started doing my podcasts. And I was making nothing from it. But every day, whether I get paid or not, I will come live. Every day, whether I make money or not, I will come live. I will preach the gospel. But I knew that my money is not going to come from that gospel. You've been hearing me since morning. Have I said, buy me stars? Have I said, send me super chats? Have I said, son of Yuko has been with us since that time. Have I said, double click the screen on TikTok? I will not. You've noticed. Normal podcast. Hey, oh yeah, where are my people? I could begin the hype. No. When I don't want to eat off the gospel. But when it's time for my what did I call it? podcast. Baba, I will eat off the podcast because that's my work. And a lot of people say, oh, Daddy Freeze is doing podcast. There's money there. You don't know the 3 years when I did it. Who knows the initial time? I used to go live. Anytime my light goes, the internet too will go with the light because I did not have UPS for the internet. I did not have UPS for this. So when the light, I'm in the middle of a preaching or a conversation, and so the Lord, everywhere will just shut down. Light don't go. I know say my estate, they sabi take light. Every 2 hours, they go take light once. Then they go bring them back. So when the light comes back, I'm now here waiting for the light to boot. By the time I come back, that time I'll have maybe 200 viewers. The viewers will just drop to 34. And it will not go back to that 200 again. I'll be heartbroken. I've lost my train of thought. But I will not give up. I will not give up. Simply Vic was there too. I will not give up. I will continue. Sun and rain. I was running 2 jobs because then I had to work in Cool FM or I will not be able to feed my family. How much was my salary in Cool FM back then? About $500 a month, Nigerian equivalent. That time, we used to ration light. My children, because they enjoy now, some people don't know what they go through. That time, television, 1 hour a week. Baby, don't you remember that time? 1 hour a week. Now they have television in their room. They have PS5. They have, all of them have new iPhones. That time. Baba, with the ration television, AC. We get one AC for house. We know on 1 year. We just did there, they look us, we they look them. They burn us well, make we on AC. But the problem is, I didn't give up. I was not stupid enough to leave everything I was doing and focus on a dream. I made sure I worked to sustain my family while following my purpose, which I believe is to liberate people from the shackles of foolishness and crazy doctrines. And the industry I wanted to create, podcasting. We started Instagram Live when you will do your Instagram Live and it will be posted as a story for 24 hours. That's how Instagram Live was when we started. And I used to preach the same message once every month because by last month, they've forgotten it this month. And that is what happens with everyone who believes in something and stays on it. And it got to a point where I realized that, look, the radio station is taking too much of my time and it's stressing me too much. Let me focus on me. It came 4 years later. And that 4 years, remember, I was on the radio for 20 years. So the 4 years later came after 20 years of practice. My first salary on the radio was a recharge card, 1,500 naira in 1995. And when I left BCOS, where Femi Obong and I worked in 2001, my salary was still 1,500 naira. I remember the first time I earned my salary. It was, put it in my pocket. And on my way home, I was dating a girl then in Bodija. I stopped and bought ice cream and we ate a bowl of ice cream together. That's about how much my salary could earn. My mother was like, have you collected your salary? I said, yes. What did you do with it? I said, I bought ice cream. My mother looked at me, I looked at her, what do you want me to do? Linda Ikeji blogged for 3 years without making 1 naira from it. But she didn't stop. Mark Zuckerberg did what he did for many years without making $1 from it. But he didn't stop. The difference between them and you is you can't weather the storm. So you create a dependency on God to feed you. And he will feed you because he has a promise. If he can take out the sparrows in the air, he will feed you. You always notice that there's always food on your table. Sometimes that food will come with insult. Like it came in the case of Jacob. They had to seize Benjamin in Egypt and tell them to go and bring him. Sometimes it will come with insult. That feeding, because God is going to feed you through someone. He's going to feed you. Don't get it wrong. You're going to be all right. But just know that you will always have a sustenance lifestyle, which is not bad. But in a country like Nigeria, wala go dey o. If right now all you can do is eat and pay your shelter, you will live a very mediocre life. Because our parents before had this sustenance mentality. If our parents were strivers and they created a society that functions, you can now be sustained, you can now be practice sustenance. But because your parents sustained, the best you can do is maintain. So what are you maintaining? Sustenance. Your parents did not build industries. Your parents did not open their eyes to possibilities. The average person goes to school so he can get a job. That's how your parents taught you. Go to school, get a job, go and read a good course in the university. I remember when I told my parents I want to study sociology, they thought I was mad. No, they literally used the word that they thought I was possessed. That you go to school and read a non-professional course. My father is a doctor, my mother is a lawyer. What did they know? Me, in my heart, I knew I was not going to work with this school. I knew that this entertainment, if they pay me 5 kobo inside it and I have to live in a shackle and my toilet has to be in the next compound, I will do it. I believed in it that much. When I came to war, I burned the ship. So it's either I'm winning or I'm buying. I'm not going back. There's a story of a military general who went to an island for war, and the people in the island were more than him. And at night, when everybody was sleeping, he went to burn the ship. You understand why? So when his people woke up the next morning, they had no ship. So it's either they stand and fight or they buy. They had 2 options, fight or buy. They cannot run. Sometimes you have 3 options, fight, buy, or run. He removed the run inside. So you just had to stand and fight. And it was hard. It's part of what puts a strain on my first marriage. It was hard. I could barely provide. But I chose to fight. I chose to stand. You too can choose to build something in your country that your children can come and maintain. Most of your parents lived on sustenance. Sustenance is hard. Imagine maintaining sustenance. Just imagine it. Sustenance by itself is hard. Now you want to come and maintain within hard. That's why the previous generation, if you not born children, you go suffer. Abroad, whether you born children or not, you have a good life. My grandmother lived on her own till she was 107 in Romania, or 103, till dementia set in. Let me tell you, it was so bad at the point that she did not remember any of us. You go and greet her, she'll say, "Who are you?" But she could still live by herself. That was my great-grandmother, sorry, not my grandma, my great-grandmother that raised me. She was an accountant. She was educated. She did not need 50 kobo from anybody till she died. Even her funeral, everything was sorted out. Because she lived in a society that built industry, they did not build sustenance. They created opportunity. In Dubai, if you want to get married and you are poor, government will give you $20,000. If you buy and you are poor, government will do your funeral for you. The government built a society that thrives. That oil that they have is only 7 or 8% of their economy. The rest comes from tourism. They did not go there and meet the tourism there. They created the tourism. Those who create, their children can maintain. Those who sustain, their children will suffer. Because you are a dependent. You depend on whatever your parents give you. So if they created a society of innovation, of industry, of you will inherit that. Even if you don't have any gift at all, you'll be able to maintain what they gave you. At least for one generation, you have something to maintain. But when all your parents did was wait for the government, the government is bad, the government is bad, the government is bad. The government is bad in every country, almost every country. And in almost every country, you will still find one billionaire or two. Yoruba people say, Tomba gunyan nu ewe, Tomba sebe nu epo epa. I want to mayo. Let me translate this for you. They say if they pound yam on a small leaf and cook soup in a granite shell, those wey go belle full go belle full. Those wey go belle full go belle. So my message for you this morning is, we are taught to depend on God. But remember, there was a point when God needed Pharaoh, because only Pharaoh had the system in place, the storehouses, the wherewithal to manage the 7 years of abundance. We as Africans need to learn from our parents and put system in place. You see, sometimes because we are so hung on to Jacob, we miss the story. Babe, are you ready? Oh yeah, now let's go. Me, I'm ready. We miss the story, the lesson of Pharaoh. You see, we were taught Bible by people who are narrow-minded. That's why nobody saw that. From when I was a child, I didn't just see, Jacob was a great guy. I saw the partiality. I saw the fact that Pharaoh had to bless him or he died. I read the scriptures from a multilateral point of view. Oh, Jacob was the blessed child. He was the blessed child. He was the blessed child. He was so blessed that he had to go and beg for food in Egypt, literally beg. He told his son, he said, if you don't go to Egypt, we will buy. Let me read it for you. Go with me to the book of Genesis. Genesis chapter 42 and verse 1. When Jacob heard that grain was available in Egypt, he said to his sons, why are you standing around looking at one another? I've heard there is grain in Egypt. Go down there and buy enough grain to keep us alive. Otherwise, we will buy. And who was in charge of the grain in Egypt? His own son. Meanwhile, he did not know. Say you are standing around looking at each other. Better run to Egypt. A pagan land. Jacob, Israel himself, who wrestled with God and prevailed, all of a sudden is going to beg for food or he buy. How did you miss that part of the story? Because you only read the part that your parents wanted you to read. Jacob is the blessed one. One blessed one, they beg for food sometimes. So blessing does not mean you will have abundance. The blessing of Jacob was not that he will be wealthy. The blessing of Jacob was that Christ was going to come through him. Pharaoh, on the other hand, was the richest man in the world at that particular time. Hey, catch that door. Oh, blessed one, they beg for food, oh. The blessed Jacob was begging for food. raking his children. Say, what are you doing here? Better go and collect food and come or we buy. They will not teach you that part. I want to teach a message called the errors of Jacob. So you can understand. Instead of us looking at Jacob and saying, oh, how wonderful he was, why don't we learn from them? I'll call it the mistakes of Jacob. The mistakes of Jacob. Error is mistake, but mistake is a better word. You'll understand it. I'll preach that sermon soon. So what are you taking out of here today? Your Christianity does not need to depend on myths. It needs to depend on the fact that you know that the message of Christ is a message of love, repentance, a message of knowledge and truth, a message of spirit and faith. Does not mean you are going to be rich. You want to be rich? Use them. Ask God for wisdom and revelation. The rest is up to you. Wisdom means as you are seeing that lizard, there's something that you are seeing in it that nobody else is seeing in it. That's revelation. Wisdom is being able to manage resources to the point where you can turn that lizard into your daily bread. Wisdom and revelation are the things God will give you. But if it is to make money, pagans are paying your bills. The Chinese people who don't go to church are the ones borrowing you loan in your country. That alone should speak volumes. Take care. God bless. I love you all. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Don't worry, I'm going to come with a podcast a little later. We'll gist other things. But sometimes the Bible message needs to be passed. And the message of Christianity is not how to make money. It's not healing. It is love. Because love creates healing. So what are you coming to Christ for? You are coming to Christ to learn how to love even your enemies. But you see, when it's time to make money, ask Dangote, ask Bill Gates, ask Mark Zuckerberg, ask Elon Musk. Take care. God bless you all.